And so now we come to my Saturday superlatives. Obviously, Sunday morning, looking back at the Saturday and, of course, previous games during the week, if there were Friday, Thursday, Wednesday games as well. And I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. And once again, my apology tour to Felipe Franks continues. He'll never be really a pinpoint passer, but he's become an effective passer, and he's always been a really good athlete. Had a really good game, and showed toughness, showed everything, leadership, and once again, other than being, a terrifically accurate quarterback, he's still an effective quarterback. 17 of 26, 339 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown. Two rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. And then I'm going to move on to a first-time mention to Brady Mcbride of Texas State. He went 32 of 45, 443 yards, 5 touchdowns. And, obviously Texas State doesn't get that much attention, but I'm hoping that if things shake out in such a way that they can get on a roll, maybe they'll get some more attention and maybe push themselves. I don't know. They're having a bad year in terms of their record, but they have some impressive players. I really like Haydell, their wide receiver I mentioned in a previous superlative. Moving on. Someone I'm a big fan of and have been since early in his career at Cincinnati is Desmond Ritter, and now I see the sort of draft community is warming up to him. He was 21 of 32 for 338 yards. He had a couple of touchdown passes, a couple of touchdowns running, 14 carries for 57 yards, and much like when I talked about Franks, similar in some ways, the two of them, except Ritter is a little more polished, a little more smooth, a little more accurate, and a little smaller, not quite as big as Franks, but he really had a good game. Kyle Trask is a permanent fixture here, and he deserves to be. I try to bring in new guys, but Kyle Trask refuses to allow me to not mention him. 26 to 35, 383 yards, 3 touchdowns. And a lot of those passes were tight window throws. He's not a huge armed guy. He gets it there through, one, just having great natural accuracy, but also he really anticipates well. And he understands leverage, and that's a lot of the battle when it comes to making tight window throws, is really understanding leverage. I have to mention Michael Penix, because how could I not mention Michael Penix? He had a crazy game. 27 of 51, 29 of 51. 441 yards, I believe it was. 491 yards. 5 TDs, 1 interception, but the interception was sort of, it looked like a miscommunication. Well, no, he was just late. He threw it late on the out, and Sean Wade took it back for a pick 6, which turned out to be very, very important. But still, Michael Penix facing probably the most talented team he's faced all year. Well, clearly the most talented team he's faced all year, and one of the most talented teams he's facing his entire career really showed up. And of course, his old competition for the position there at Peyton Ramsey had a pretty good day at the office, but mostly in a defense-dominated game where Northwestern prevailed over Wisconsin. But I'll get to their defense later. Moving on, JT Daniels, who of course we all remember from his days at USC before he had to move on and Keaton Slovis took over. In his SEC debut for Georgia, showed up and really looked under control. He was 28 of 38 for 401 yards, which I believe is a record for a first-time starter at the University of Georgia. 4 touchdowns. He's not a guy who's going to do much with his feet other than hopefully extend a play or avoid being sacked, but he showed you, once again, he could see defenses and he knows the right ball to throw. Rutgers' offense looked the best I've seen it look in quite some time, and clearly Coach Shiano has that team pointed in the right direction. And Noah Vedral, a player I didn't think I would be saying good things about, I have to say good things about because he's making me. He showed poise, heart, grit, all that stuff that people love to talk about. And once again, I've never seen him throw the ball better. He was 29 of 43. He had 3 touchdowns. He also had 1 interception. He ran for a touchdown. One of those, goal line plunge deals where he just ran through some tacklers, actually. So showed me, a lot, quite frankly. And that team, like I said, is better days are coming up there in New Jersey. A guy I've been wanting to see something from, because obviously when you follow Justin Herbert at Oregon, people have high expectations. Well, Tyler Shough is beginning to show me things. He's a good athlete. Obviously, they emphasize being able to move around a little bit, but I'm impressed by more and more by what he's doing as a passer. 19 of 30, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I was also impressed by some of the plays he did not make. Some of the things he avoided, which is really shows maturation as a young quarterback, is when you're able to not make the bad play as well as make good plays. Speaking of maturing quarterbacks, a guy who's been great at times and out of control at other times, Spencer Rattler really came through. And so, my prediction of Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 is now probably being scuttled, but he went 17 of 24, 301 yards, very accurate, 5 touchdowns. Also, ran for a touchdown. He had 7 carries for 14 yards, but he had more than that. But of course, once again, sacks come out at the collegiate level. And someone I have to also mention, a lot of guys debuting. I have to mention this guy's debut. Coming in relief, Cade McNamara came in, and frankly, the team, Joe Milton is playing under difficult circumstances, but the team was clearly struggling, and he just seemed to give them a real spark. And he played well. 27 of 36. He had 260 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He also ran for 1. And he's a smaller quarterback. He's reminds me of a kid. What was his name? There was a kid a few years ago from Wake Forest. Actually, more than a few now I think about it. I'm getting old. That reminded him. 6'1", 261 maybe. Probably about 2. Riley Skinner. He's like a better version of Riley Skinner. And I think this guy has something. We'll see what happens. But those are the quarterbacks for my Saturday superlatives.